All right, welcome to part 3 of Straight Shoot News, coming to you from Merrimack Valley. The shot heard around the world, put an end to the tyrant's reign, but they're coming back and they're coming hard. And I believe Trump is right. This is going to be the final battle. So, I told you in part 2, we're going to show you some clips there about compromising the U.S. ports, Club K. If you don't know what that is, government review. I want you to pay attention to the dates, because this is how bad we're being compromised. And this, we're going to shock you what we're going to tell you, and some of these things about, well, we told you all of the candidates will not take care of problems. They are all compromised. Trump is right. He's the only one who's going to be able to do it. So with that, let's show you a promo from this company called Gulftainer, and this is from 2015. Pay attention to the dates for this whole segment.
When the right expertise partners with new opportunity, when best-in-class efficiency partners with global trade, when solid infrastructure partners with rising demand, success is inevitable. At Gulftainer, we believe the future is partnering progress. Gulftainer is the world's largest privately owned and independent terminal operator and logistics company. Our roots are in one of the most important trading routes between East and West. In the 1970s, Gulftainer started its journey by launching its first container terminal. Today, our portfolio spans 5 continents. With nearly 40 years of growth and long partnerships in a changing world, we are on the move, ready to be a partner in success in the U.S. In 2014, Gulftainer signed an historic 35-year agreement with the Port Canaveral Authority in Florida, marking the first venture in the United States and the creation of GTUSA.
The opportunities for growth that oceanic trade brings to businesses and nations alike is perfectly reflected in today's agreement between GTUSA and Port Canaveral.
Port Canaveral has entered a 35-year, $100 million agreement with a company called Gulftainer, a global port terminal operator.
The company will invest $100 million in port infrastructure, equipment, and personnel. The new deal could bring hundreds of jobs to our area.
Port Canaveral is among the world's most popular cruise ports, with 4.2 million passengers in 2014, and getting ready to double cruise capacity in the next 5 years. Port Canaveral is much more than that. It is a dynamic trade nerve center for Central Florida, the state's fastest growing region, accessible within 3 hours of most of the state, and well positioned as a gateway for the southeast U.S. A new era for Port Canaveral is unfolding, widening the channel by 100 feet and deepening the harbor to 46 feet. Expanding its cargo trade 20-fold in the next 5 years. GTUSA is proud to be Port Canaveral's partner, investing $100 million in the port's new state-of-the-art cargo terminal, investing in infrastructure, equipment, and human capital through local jobs. Combined with the opportunities that come with the Panama Canal expansion, it is a game changer. At Port Canaveral, GTUSA aims to deliver in the U.S. the same world-class service that our company is known for, with a reputation for operating the most productive ports in the world. Port Canaveral has all the right attributes: a central location, space to grow, a large market, and the quick ship access and infrastructure we need to create efficiency in developing a secure gateway for goods entering and leaving the state. Port Canaveral and other strategic locations in the U.S. play a key role in realizing Gulftainer's goal to increase handling activity to 18 million TEUs by 2020. Today, more than 90% of world trade is still carried by sea. In 2014, the U.S. shipped more than $2.35 trillion in goods and services. As the U.S. continues to expand its global trade reach, it needs investors who understand world markets. It needs partners who are best in class at what they do, partners who can lead the way. In a competitive marketplace, GTUSA knows exactly what it takes to fulfill those ambitions. Amid a changing industry, we will remain constant. the most productive port operator and third-party logistics provider in the world. GTUSA is here to work in partnership to deliver growth that is real and sustainable. That is the GTUSA mission.
Didn't that sound wonderful? We wanted to play that whole promo. I mean, that was like the gateway to the whole southern USA. A deep sea port, Cape Canaveral, blockades, everything. They sold that really well. Here's the problem. Our enemies dangle some dollars for our jobs. Politicians run right for it. And then you got all the people who want work. Oh, they're right there. Oh, this is great. A lot about Florida. And particularly the governor and some of his congressional people. We heard Governor DeSantis during the shutdown and shipments were being installed off the coast of California. He said, ship it here to Florida. Our ports can handle the load. You know, we knew that the Panama Canal had been expanded. The problem is both ends of the Panama Canal are controlled by the communist Chinese. Same people that attacked the world with the virus. So there wasn't a lot of thinking going on there. And when all this was permitted to go into Florida, Ronald Dion DeSantis, Mr. American conservative politician, he represented Florida's 6th congressional district in the U.S. House of Representatives. That did from 2013 to 2018. That clip was from 2015. So, and at that time, we had today's Senator Rick Scott from Florida. He was governor of Florida, who was sworn in as governor on January 4, 2011, for a second term. No, that was his first term in 2011. And the second term he got 2015. I wonder how much catering he did to these people. But the problem we have here is they're not just jeopardizing their own state, they're jeopardizing the country. And I believe they're covering up and even possibly sabotaging some of our elections with some of their statements. I'll get into that after we play you a clip so you understand what the concerns are about this Canaveral port and who it was turned over to, and how these same people want to put a port in Delaware. Listen to this, and we'll get back and discuss it a little more for you.
Are aware here in Delaware, and we have a huge port up there in Wilmington, that there are some shadowy Middle Eastern took over Port Canaveral in Florida, where we have various strategic assets like nuclear missile submarines that come in and out of there. And there's an awful lot of cargo that goes in and out of the Port of Wilmington. And there are people, ostensibly Americans, who are just all too happy to turn the operation of that port over to a company that apparently part of it is owned by somebody who is or was related to Saddam Hussein, and by extension Hamas and Hezbollah, or, you know, to fill us in on that. The details are weird and they're shifting all the time, right?
Well, right. So what we're talking about is a Middle Eastern company called Gulftainer. Gulftainer operates ports and port facilities all around the world. The problem is that it is co-owned by the Emir of Sharjah, that's one of the United Arab Emirates in the Persian Gulf, and the family, the Jafar family of Iraq, which is the family of Saddam Hussein's nuclear mastermind. Dr. Jafar headed up Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction programs. Yes, he really did have them. And this Dr. Jafar, back in the day, actually designed, perhaps never built, but designed a miniaturized nuclear warhead. So this is who owns Gulftainer. Now, Gulftainer is in a joint venture with a Russian company that makes a container, the kind that go on ships and also on trains and trucks all over the world. It looks like a normal box, the container, kind of cargo container that you see all over the world.
Sure.
Well, this particular kind is called the Club K that Russia makes and exports, and unfortunately, inside it contains a cruise missile launch system. So we've got Gulftainer, owned by a United Arab Emirates emir and the Jafar family of Saddam Hussein's nuclear mastermind, in a joint venture with a Russian company that makes this cruise missile launch system inside of a box called Club K. So Gulftainer was able to gain a 35-year lease in 2014, that's 4 years ago, to operate the cargo container terminal at Port Canaveral, Florida.
Well, what could go wrong?
What could go wrong is the name of one of the earliest papers that two fantastic investigative journalists, Mary Fanning and Alan Jones.
Yeah, I've had them on the air here. Yeah, I've had them on the air.
Security policy, yeah. They have written now, and we have published at our website, www.centerforsecuritypolicy.org, 3 of these papers about this. So that's Florida, but let's bring it home to Delaware, where I think many of your listeners are.
Oh, yeah.
And earlier this year, in April 2018, the Delaware state-owned Diamond State Port Corporation approved a deal under which Gulftainer is going to get a 50-year lease, not just to the cargo container facilities, but the entire port of Wilmington, Delaware. The Delaware General Assembly has rubber-stamped this, and it looks like the deal is just about done, that this company, Middle East company with ties to the Russian company, Gulftainer, is going to get a hold of the entire operations of the Port of Wilmington, Delaware.
Now, the last thing that I saw is that President Trump wants to have final approval for any deal like this. And there probably are other ones that are trying to percolate up all over the country. So that he may have the authority eventually, sooner, if not later, to block this.
Sort of. There is an agency called the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States.
Yeah.
CFIUS.
Sure.
And that is a group of agencies that would include, well, it's overseen by the Treasury Department, but includes the Department of State, the Department of Homeland Security, Commerce, Trade, and whatever other agencies.
Yeah, there's 9 of them.
To do a review of any kind of transaction, lease, or purchase that would have a national security implication. Well, you kind of think maybe our ports, our critical infrastructure ports, might fall under this?
Well, of course.
Well, we think so. But 2 times now, in 2014 for Port Canaveral, Florida, and now, this year, 2018, CFIUS has blown off the national security investigation and said, no problem, we don't need to do that, just skip it. And we have no idea why. Now, you're mentioning President Trump, who just recently signed into law a new bill about CFIUS and about CFIUS reform. But unfortunately, that very comprehensive bill for reform of CFIUS is kind of physician heal thyself. It's sort of laying out, it lays out the measures that CFIUS ought to take to reform itself and to become more of a responsive agency for review of these kinds of deals. It's got 18 months to do it, and there's no real deadlines or hard and fast measures. You must do this, you will do this, and Congress will review if you have complied. There's none of that. It's just, well, CFIUS, you really ought to do this and this and this, and you don't have to start for 18 months. That's what's in the new bill that Trump signed. Now, yes, the president has the authority on the grounds of national security to immediately put a halt or at least a pause to the Delaware Wilmington port deal, and to pause or stop operations at Port Canaveral. But unfortunately, I'm not even sure he's aware of what's going on, although advisors close to him certainly are, because we've told them.
Advisors close to Trump were told, and they were aware. I wonder who those advisors were. Remember, well, Trump learns his mistakes. When he's saying that, he admitted it in his speech in North Carolina and in Georgia. So this was 2014, 2018. We have Florida and Delaware ports. The company, that fluffy company we played you the promo for, that's why we played it for you, involved with Saddam Hussein, supposed to be our super arch enemy. We all know that before Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait, the CIA gave him the go-ahead. And then we invaded Iraq. Gee, what could go wrong? What grudges could there be? Sense of revenge? And that family's involved with ties to Russia and the Russian company that makes miniature nuclear warheads and missiles that could fit inside of a shipping container. Let's look back at DeSantis and Rick Scott. So either they're completely oblivious and not fit to hold the presidency, or they understand what they did now and have to cover up. And who knows? Who knows where some of their wealth comes from? We told you, DeSantis, U.S. Representative, Scott was governor of Florida. And you really got to look at some of these comments that were made. I mean, when the Georgia race was coming up, Senate, the balance of the Senate was at stake. You had Rick Scott, Senator, a Republican, come out and say how they were going to revive Social Security. How many votes do you think that cost the GOP in winning those Senate seats? Think about that. And then you had the idiot, McCain's bootlicker, Lindsey Graham of the GOP, and on to say he wanted to make abortions illegal across the country. No, the whole court ruling was to send the decision back to the state. So if that didn't energize Democratic voters to come out against the GOP, nothing will. And, Biden's policy is already crushing America. People are feeling it. Majority of people, even if people vote Democrats. These people, you can't trust any of them. Trump, you didn't know. Advisors were being told. That's what we put you that clip. And they're from the people we were talking about in this podcast. But now we're going to play you a little more.
Claire Lopez from the Center for Security in D.C. Ms. Lopez, talking about the Wilmington port and the Middle Eastern firm that is going to be operating it. They can do anything they want there at this point, can't they?
Well, the thing is that we'll never know. And with this Club K, as I described, the shipping container box thing that the Russians make and have sold to countries like Iran, with that Club K disguised, looking exactly like any other intermodal container on ships and railway cars and trucks. There's no way to know if or when one of those might come into this country. Now, there are inspections at ports loading ships bound for the United States, yes. There are inspections at our ports when cargo comes in. but there's no way that the inspectors can look at anything more than a tiny percentage, to really inspect anything more than a tiny percentage of those cargo containers. And the thing is, too, that the missiles inside of a Club K, the Russian Club K model, just sit there dormant. There's no way to tell they're in there until they're activated, which can be done remotely by satellite. And who knows where they are by that time. Remember, Port Canaveral went over to Gulftainer 4 years ago. Well, here's another thing. If we have no idea, but if one of those containers got into this country anywhere from 1 to 4 years ago, it could be in Topeka, Kansas by now. It could be anywhere. If the signal were given from a satellite, the lid would pop off of that Club K container, the 4 missiles would stand up, and we have zero way of defending against a missile inside the United States. All of our defenses, such as they are pointed outwards, as one might expect, really, to the north and the west primarily. By the way, the Atlantic coast and the Gulf Coast of the United States have zero missile defense or radar systems. But internal to the country, if one of those missiles, cruise missile, hypersonic cruise missiles that can carry anything from a biological, chemical, conventional or nuclear, or even an EMP warhead, if one of those went off inside the middle of the country, we have no way to touch it, no way to stop it.
that concerning? See what's in the country or could be in the country, undetected at these ports. No way of knowing they're in there unless they're activated. Tiny percentages of these cargo containers get inspected. We figured we'd give you that clip and see if you get alarmed. But there's good news. Because it's just announced that in the Delaware ports anyway, they declined their company access to run the ports. And they're giving the contract to a U.S. company, which may be able to do something about it. So you see, the people like that speaking up, and the people we showed you the clips from, who were speaking up on the John Wells show, they kept complaining. They were loud. They weren't afraid to stand up. They weren't afraid to be counted and take action, to the point that the Delaware port got denied. See, we the people can do this. You just need to be informed and unafraid. Because if we don't, Trump's right. This is the final battle. If we win, we can save ourselves and the world a lot of bloodshed. If not, as we told you with Austin being compromised, we're going to have a big problem. More than you can imagine. We don't have to dwell on this stuff. At least become aware of the surroundings. When it comes time to speak up, speak up. Trump's not your enemy. He's doing this to prevent war and loss of lives, like he told you. With that, I hope tonight's show was enlightening. And we'll see where this all goes with this so-called indictments against Trump. With that, have a good night.